presenting Emilio, the Honey Badger.
I'm JP Mestanza. Now here's the news you need to know.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with our good friend, former coach, buddy, filmmaker, black belt extraordinaire, our great buddy, Stuart Cooper. What's happening, my man? Welcome to the Honey Badger Hour, dog.
What up, Stu?
No, thanks for having me, guys. It's been we've been trying to plan this for a while.
Yo, the boys are back in town. The boys are back in Zoom. Look at us. Look at us three hanging out together. Remember, wasn't it just not too long ago? It wasn't a thing. We'd always be together, huh? Damn.
Exactly,
You
yeah.
never know how time
One in
change like
Vancouver,
this, huh?
one in Phuket, one in Bangkok.
Oh my God, we're all spread out now evenly.
Yeah.
We're all evenly distributed.
All
Oh,
of
yo,
it.
Stu, you were gone for a little bit in Singapore, and you would come visit us. That was kind of cool. That would be fun.
Yeah,
when we had a little
so
hiatuses in Phuket.
2016. You know, I left Thailand in 2015. And I left for a year, went back to England for a year to do a little detox, as you guys know. And then I went to Singapore after that for a year. That was like good just to get me my life back on track. And then, you know, I've told you all about how hard it is to work at Evolve. So, yeah, I took the opportunity to bounce back to Thailand after teaching 8 classes a day, 6 days a week in Singapore.
Oh my God!
Wow.
It was not sustainable.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no joke. Are you able to train when you changing that much? You're probably not training too much, huh?
Say again.
I'm sorry. When you're teaching that many classes, it's probably really hard to train, huh?
I would actually, no, it's actually, the train was pretty good. I mean, when you're teaching 8 classes a day, I would roll in pretty much all of them. You know,
nice.
I suppose not all of them, but I would get a lot of roll in it. So actually my game improved a lot because when I was in Singapore, I was training mainly with like blue and purple belts. So I really do think that's the best way to get better is rolling with people like that. If you're rolling with black belts every day, like tough black belts, you're just going to do your A game all the time and you're just going to go, you know, do what you're best at. So you don't really get much chance to experiment with new technique. But blue and purple belts, you know, they know how to react. They give you enough, you know, force. And yeah, I learned a lot when I was there.
Yo, that's interesting about jiu-jitsu, right? That's interesting about training. Sometimes people think you need to be like in a room where like all the best guys in the world just constantly getting beat up. But then, like you said, that's very true. You know, this happens a lot in training where like you gotta find that even keel, huh? Of
Yeah,
like of people that can beat you up, and also being able to work your game and have people that you can, you know, you try to have that whole range of motion of people that you can roll throughout. It's always good to have on the mats.
Yeah, you need a few different levels of training partners. Like you need the guys that you can smash, the guys that you kind of go back and forth with, and then the people that can smash you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And Stu, what year did you start doing jiu-jitsu?
I believe I started in 2010. 2010, I think.
2010.
Yeah.
How'd you get involved? How did you find jiu-jitsu? What made you get involved with training martial arts and jiu-jitsu and everything?
I was at university, and then that was the first time I saw UFC. So UFC came on the TV one night. We were watching it with me and my housemates, and right away, I liked the UFC right away because I could see I'd never seen it before. You know, I was never a fan of like WWE. So when I saw the UFC, I was like, wow, this is real. It's like real fighting. So I started asking around, like, you know, what is the UFC? And people said it was MMA. I'd never heard of MMA. So I actually went and did my first MMA lesson. Actually, no, it was Muay Thai. The first lesson I ever did at the local gym was a Muay Thai lesson. So I did that for about 2 weeks. And then after Muay Thai was the MMA classes. So I finally built up the courage to go and train one of the MMA classes because I was a little intimidated by the people that were in there. So after doing a few classes of everyone taking me down, mounting me, you know, submitting me, like arm-barring me, like that's what fascinated me was the submissions, the ground game. So I asked them, look, can I do this separate? I don't want to do the striking. I just want to do this ground stuff. And so I joined up a gym in London called London Fight Factory for probably about 6 weeks before I moved back up north to Manchester. So yeah, that's how it all began. 2010, I believe it was.
Wow, so we got 11 years in the game now, Bubba.
11 years, yeah. Wow.
That's so funny. So you went into the gym and it was like a Muay Thai, and then you found the jiu-jitsu after. That's so funny. That's the same what happened with me.
Yeah. So yeah, when I moved back up to Northwest England with my parents, and it was at this time the recession hit, so I couldn't really get a job. So I actually started training just for something to do. So I'm kind of glad I couldn't get a job, because it led me to my career now. So I still had in my head I wanted to do MMA. That's because I loved UFC so much. So I actually did have 2 amateur fights back in England. And that's when I was a blue belt. And when I first moved out to Thailand, I still thought I wanted to do MMA. But after doing quite a few like MMA lessons at Tiger Muay Thai, I realized that it requires something else. Like, it would never have been for me. I definitely don't, Oh, you disappeared?
Oh, Emilio?
Oh, sorry, keep going.
Is he still there?
Can you see me?
No, I can't see you. Just hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, go.
Did you press the camera? There you go.
Sorry.
Nice.
So as I realized MMA wasn't for me, I think it was actually one of the training sessions, our good friend, Yasubi Enamato. I was actually doing the MMA sparring one day, and I was doing a round with Felipe Enamato. And I remember, I didn't know who he was at the time. I remember Yasubi watching closely at the side, and I managed to take Felipe down a few times. And then the next round, Yasubi's like, really keen to go with me. And I just remember taking a pretty nasty head kick. And I did the chicken dance. It was that. I had like headaches for about a week afterwards. And that was what really put me off. I just realized, this isn't for me. I prefer the jiu-jitsu where I don't get hit.
Yeah. And when you were you had already been training for a while. When you went to Thailand, you had already been training for a little bit of time, right?
Yeah, I was a purple belt, but when I first came out to Thailand, I was purple belt.
Nice, man. So you started training in England. When you started training, what were your primary goals when you first got into it? Were your goals to always be like to be a coach, to be a competitor, to be? Or you just wanted to get in shape? You want to meet some friends? Because everybody has like different reasons for training. Like, do you know what any of your reasons were for going to the gym?
I've always been into sport anyway. I love going to the gym. I used to did a marathon at one point, but it was mainly just for some, for fitness. But then as soon as I started to get into it, I was like, I believed I could get good at it. I was like, I think I could go far with this. So I started to really want to become a world champion. But because of people around me and my family, and they were kind of like, led me to believe that there's no career there. It's not really going to lead on to anything, and I need to look for a proper job. So I was kind of torn. I knew what I wanted to do, but I was being told that I couldn't do that. So every day I would a few times a week, I'd get the shirt and tie on, and I would leave the house in the morning and tell my parents I was going to job interviews. When really I was just going training. Just to make it seem that I was actually making an effort to get a job.
So we just change at the gym and into your like Superman. Yeah. Just change into your gi or into Nogi stuff. Yeah. That's awesome.
I did do a few job interviews, but a lot of them I just didn't take. Didn't take the job.
And Stu, I want to ask you because I had like a very similar experience, man. I didn't even realize. It's crazy. I've known you almost 10 years, almost 6 years I've known you, and I didn't realize we had very similar starting like that. What made you realize, keep, because you said like your parents and everything was like, people were telling you you're thinking to get a job. What was the spark that made you want to realize to start pursuing this all the way and like find a route to like become world champion, to become a world champion, and to make this like your more of like all of you? Like, was there anything specific or like your training?
Well, it was actually my arm. I've had the surgery there. You can see the scars. When my arm dislocated in training, I was out because all the ligaments torn. My arm snapped back the opposite way. So I was out for over a year. But that led into the filmmaking. So I started making jiu-jitsu videos. I started making wedding films, and then my jiu-jitsu videos got really popular, and that's what gave me the opportunity to go over to Brazil for the first time. So actually by that point, I'd lost the dream of becoming going to become a world champion and competing. It was more, now my life is like training for fun and still doing some competing, but, actually making a living from making jiu-jitsu videos. I just traveling. I was just kind of going with the flow, really. And I went to Brazil for 4 months, then going around the US. And then in 2012, that's when I came out to Thailand. And it was when I was in Thailand, I started to get the urge to actually go far in jiu-jitsu again. I was always going back and forth, like, do I focus on making videos and my YouTube channel, or do I focus on, actually like training and competing? So I was going back and forth for years. But I think it was 2017, that's when I decided to focus more on actually just teaching and training, because that really is what I prefer to do. I like making videos, but I don't want to do it full time. I love the teaching and training more than anything.
There's something special about the teaching and training, right? Like being able to have the opportunity to get paid to do that is like something really special. I always feel like being able to see somebody grow, like, what do you like? Yeah, so you like, that's what your thing, huh? The teaching and the training over most of the things and aspects of jiu-jitsu that you do.
Yeah, but recently I've realized how important it is to have something after all this, because we won't be able to train and compete always. So I've gone back to my video stuff now. I'm trying to find a good balance here, because I'm so busy teaching classes and training. I really don't actually have that much time to do video, but I'm going to make time, like maybe 2 days a week I save for editing videos, because I think that's a really good thing to carry on, because you just never know what can happen. I could have a horrific injury, touch wood, I don't, that where I can't really compete anymore. And I still have these, my goals now is to compete in the ADCC trials, and hopefully do well there. But I'm trying to get on these shows, Submission Underground, Third Coast Grappling. So that's what I'm looking to do when the borders open back up, and carry on making the videos as well. But like I said, just trying to find a balance there.
We're gonna blow the bullhorn. We're gonna blow the bullhorn and open the floodgates after this video, and we're gonna get the people on it, We're gonna let the people know Stuart Cooper was ready to take over the scene, dog. We'd love to see you in ADCC trials. I think you smashed those guys, man. That'll be a tremendous. You haven't done the trials yet, huh?
No, so the last trials for the ADCC Worlds in 2019, they were in Poland, and I was going to do them. I was ready. I was training, but my knee ripped, the meniscus tore. I'm not sure when it was. It was a few weeks before, which left me unable to. I was hoping it would heal in time, and it just didn't heal. Actually, it got worse, and I ended up having surgery on it in the end. So that's what kept me out of doing the trials in 2018. So next time I was preparing for these trials, I was more than ready for the ones. They were supposed to be December last year, and then obviously because of COVID, they got pushed back. It actually got pushed back twice. So I actually trained really hard for something that never happened. So now they've been pushed back to, I think, September. I'm not sure the actual date, but this year. So I've got months and months.
Oh,
so
nice.
What I'm trying to do now is train hard, but train more smart, because at 35 now, I get injured quite easily these days. That never used to happen. So I really have to make sure I don't go hard all the time, because my body will just break down. So it's trying to get better and develop, but stay injury free, That's my biggest fear, is something else happening right before the trials. But yeah, I've started to be a bit more smart with the way I train these days.
Oh man, that's awesome, bro.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. That'd be great too. That'll be a whole new aspect of the game that you've touched, that you've delved with, and then now you've done the videography, you've done the teaching, you can do the competing. Yeah. People don't even know. A lot of times people don't know the guy that's filming can whoop their ass, dog.
What would be awesome though is I remember first going to ADCC in 2011, and I was a blue belt, and I was there filming, making the highlight. I didn't even have the idea in my head that I would want to do this one day. I was still, you know, a fresh blue belt. Watching all like Marcelo Garcia and Cron Gracie and Cyborg Abreu compete, like I never even thought like these. It just seemed like a, you know, alien to me. These guys are another fucking level. But one thing I've learned of this is consistency is key. You know, when you're consistent with something, you just get better and better and better. And it's only now I actually feel like I definitely could, you know, win the trials, you know, and compete at that level.
Wow, man! You went to ADCC to do some filming when you were a blue belt. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. That's
And when did you go to Brazil?
So the ADCC that I went to in 2011 was in Nottingham, England.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
My coach competed in that one.
China. Sorry?
I think Coco went against Leo Vera in that one in the first round.
Okay.
He lost to Leo Vera.
Yeah. That's Leo Vieira.
Is that the one that Cron won?
No, so that year Marcelo Garcia won. He had a great match with Cron, but Marcelo won and beat Leo Vieira in the final. It was 2013 Cron Gracie won. He won every match by submission. And that was Gary Tonon's breakout year. Gary Tonon went to ADCC China 2013 as a brown belt, and no one knew who he was. And that's when we found out who Gary Tonon was. You know?
Oh wow!
That was a cool event.
Were you there in 2000? You were in China in 2013?
Yeah, honestly, 2013 China has some of the best matches ever. But there was no crowd. It was like in Beijing, China. There's no one around. No one. But it was actually a great event, you know. And there wasn't like I'm one of the few people in the world that actually has footage of 2013. You didn't have all this media crew. You had Budo videos covering the live stream, but yeah, I mean, look at the media now. When I went to 2019 in California, so different. Like just
there's a lot of media and stuff.
Crowd, media, the production of the event. It's amazing that 2013 to 2019, the difference.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of the
shows
growth.
how sports growing fast.
It's so good to know and see how the sport was growing. Because I remember when I first started training, like my coach, Enrico, was getting ready for ADC in 2009. And then like I had just been training maybe like a month or two, and like that's what he was preparing. And I remember like when he was competing, like there was no way of like even finding out the results. I had to like hear from like a friend who had the phone number of the guy who was coaching him, of the coach coaching him. You know what I mean? So we had to get like, I forgot like how we were getting our results for the ADC. It was like super hard to find, you know. I think maybe Budo Videos had it. I didn't know about Budo Videos that time, you know. Maybe the next year was the Budo Videos, like it's every 2 years. So maybe the one after that I watched it on Budo, but it was still super hard and it was like at a crazy time, you know. Like for America, it was like in England or something like that. So it was like early in the morning for America to watch jiu-jitsu matches. But now it's awesome to see the growth, huh? You've seen it from 2009 all the way to now. That's crazy.
I wasn't really into jiu-jitsu in 2009.
I'm sorry.
But even in 2010, like it was only even 2011 when I went to ADCC 2011. I was into jiu-jitsu. I loved it, but I didn't know who anyone was. I wasn't following it. So I remember doing interviews with Cron Gracie. I had no idea who he was. I did an interview with Hickson. I didn't know who he was afterwards because I still got the footage. And like, I even look back now, how did I not know who these guys were, you know? It kind of helped because I wasn't starstruck at the time.
Yo, might have made it for like a clean interview, huh? If you don't know who you're interviewing, you just treat them like regular people.
But I really started to follow it and get into it and like follow, you know, the names and stuff probably like 2012 or something, 2013. That's when I really started to,
And were you able to train? Did you train when you went to Brazil?
Yeah, so when I went to Brazil, I got my purple belt and I was training there every day actually. Mainly gi. It was at Gordo Jiu-Jitsu in Barra, Tijuca. So that's when I used to train a lot of the no-gi sessions with RDA, Rafael dos Anjos, because at that time he was on the prelims. I remember he was preparing for Gleason Tebow, the UFC.
And he was in Brazil.
He was an up-and-comer, and he was like 155 at this time. So I trained with RDA a lot, and he was actually the friendliest guy at the gym, because a lot of them didn't speak English, but he actually spoke a little bit of English, and he was one of the first videos I ever made. It's on my YouTube channel somewhere, but the first video I ever made was on Braulio Estima. Then I did one on Gunnar Nelson, and Ryan Hall. But then when I moved out to Brazil, the first one I did was on RDA.
RDA, damn.
Wow. So you got to go to Brazil and train in the homeland. That's pretty dope, man.
Yeah.
Training gi in Brazil. You're eating acai and everything, getting down.
Yeah, acai every day. Where all my money went.
Hey, how's the food? A lot of good barbecue. The food's amazing over there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really enjoy the food?
Barbecues. Yeah. Really good food, actually. It's an amazing place. I actually went out to Brazil thinking that I would want to stay there. My intention was to go out to Brazil and find a way to stay there and not leave. And I actually did get that opportunity, but it didn't, for some reason, I can't put my finger on it. I didn't want to stay. It didn't feel like home to me. I liked it and I'd love to go back again, but I just knew right, like after a few months, I couldn't live here, you know? I couldn't really, it's hard to explain why, but when I came to Thailand, oh man, I fell in love with that place. I wanted to stay. I was like, oh, I can live here.
All right, so we'll go full circle. Bring us, here we are, right there. Boop. Bring us to the, hey, what made you come to the land of smiles, dog? What brought you to the Pearl of the Abdomen, my man? What brought us all there? It seems to be the magic place.
To get to Brazil, like that was my first. I wanted to, obviously, anyone in jiu-jitsu, you want to train jiu-jitsu in Brazil. What I did is I reached out to Connection Rio, this jiu-jitsu hostel, and said, look, can you give me a free place to stay? You know, free accommodation and free training if I make videos and, you know, promote your hostel. And he said yes. It was a guy called Dennis Ash. He said yes right away. So that's how I was able to go to Brazil, and like on not that much money, but you know, free accommodation, free training. I was able to stay out there for months on a limited budget. So after Brazil, I had the idea to do the same thing. And Tiger Muay Thai obviously is the biggest name. So a friend of mine, Ryan Jones, he actually did it before me. And he went out to Tiger Muay Thai and said, look, he must have applied or something, said, look, can you give me free training, free accommodation if, you know, and I come in as an intern, just produce videos and all the athletes and fighters that are at Tiger Muay Thai. So Ryan Jones was already out there, and he helped, like he, you know, made sure that I got the opportunity as well. So yeah, that was 2012. I got the invite to come out to Thailand, and yeah, I moved in with Ryan. He had a spare room, and that's actually, I remember the first day I was there, I met JP. Mm-hmm. First time I met JP.
I met you that night in front of that house, and I remember like everyone was like, "Oh, my friend Stu is coming," or at least Ryan was. And then by then, the first ADCC video you had done had already been blown up, and I'd seen, and I'd already started doing jiu-jitsu. And then I met you. I was like, "Oh, what's up? How you doing? I love jiu-jitsu too."
JP, you were training jiu-jitsu?
By that time, yeah, I had already started at Tiger. I was already at Tiger. Yeah. Ryan was the first intern. I think I was like the second or third.
Yeah. So, Pizzle, you got the same intern gig as Stu.
As Stu, as Ryan as well, Jeff. Yeah.
And Jeff Saintler. I'm going to give a shout out to Jeff. He's now he's in the big time, isn't he?
Big time.
Now he's like Israel Adesanya's personal videographer.
Yo, Slug Flims, we love Slug Flims. Hey, my favorite thing. I'm sorry?
Jeff Saintler used to be my assistant at Tiger Muay Thai.
Oh, snap, the assistant of the assistant, dog. I love it. Then we got Mitch, too. We got to get Mitch, Jeff, all the media guys, yo. We're all doing big things popping, man. I love it, yo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Everybody trains, yo. That's my favorite shit, coming home after training and watching my friends' videos. That's my shit. I come home and I make my coffee, and then I put on either a Stuart Cooper or a Jeff Sandler. Mm-hmm. And then I put on the Phuket News. We're all over, baby. We're all over, dog. So, Stu, you came to Thailand to do an intern at Tiger Muay Thai. You ended up getting the gig, same kind of deal, like training and accommodation, or what was the setup like?
Yeah, no, I remember like accommodation wasn't a problem. I remember went to my first Muay Thai class at Tiger Muay Thai the very next day. And that's where I met Fernando Macachero and, you know, I actually went to Thailand with the intention to focus on striking and get really good at striking. But I didn't know there was like a great professor out there in Fernando Macachero, a legit 4th degree black belt with all this knowledge. So I just I couldn't seem to step away from the jiu-jitsu. You know, I just started training jiu-jitsu every day and didn't actually do that much striking. So
that's exactly what happened to me, bro. I went to Thailand to go learn Muay Thai. The first month I did, but then when I went back, I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. I was taking Fernando's class in the mornings, and then you were the coach at night. You were the night coach. You were the night coach when I got to Thailand, yo.
Yeah.
So I remember
same thing, bro. My jiu-jitsu got so good when I was training with you guys every day, twice a day, I remember. And then I was teaching in Singapore. So when I went to Thailand, I was teaching jiu-jitsu in Singapore. So I was like, damn, I need to learn some new moves. And I remember I was taking your guys' classes, and I was like, I remember that was one of the times I took like some of the most gains in my career. I remember that, yo. Yeah. Damn, so you went to Thailand and fell in love with BJJ because of Fernando. Fernando was the man, huh?
Yeah.
He had a good aura about him, dog. He was like a great leader, you know? He really, like, I don't know what it was. What do you call that? What is that?
Well, he was kind of like the father figure, Fernando, wasn't he? He was like a lot older than all of us, and he's someone we all looked up to, you know? He was like the wise old man, you know? He was just, he just had a good energy around him. He's someone that you could actually go and talk to about things. You know, he was a good guy to have around. Yeah, he was. That's a good line. He was a father figure, yo, but he was still a gangster, dog. Fernando was an OG, though. Don't get it twisted, dog. It's like, yo, something about Fernando, man. He had like that good fatherly figure, you know. Like, I really enjoyed taking all his classes, man. So you probably leveled up a lot when you were over there. You had a chance to work with a lot of high-level athletes, I assume, when you were there, huh? That was probably it was more MMA guys. When I first went over there wasn't that many people to roll with, really. But as the years went on, like the MMA team started to grow, because Roger Huerta was there, Brian Ebersol, and they started to grow the MMA team. And then, you know, loads of like these guys from Dagestan came over, who've got amazing wrestling, good grapplers themselves. And so I started to, there wasn't many strictly jiu-jitsu people there. They would come and go, they would pass through, but I was mainly rolling with, MMA guys, but they were perfect to roll with because, you know, like obviously they've all got, you know, look at Khabib's wrestling. Yeah, they're not just wrestlers, they're good on the ground as well.
Oh,
that was the first time I remember the first time training with someone from Dagestan. You know, like, that's when I realized, I remember thinking like, damn, these guys are good. Like, how are they not in the UFC? And this is back in 2012. And I was confused to why they weren't in the UFC. How these guys are like another level. And then as we've seen, as the years have gone on, they're all getting into the UFC now. And obviously Khabib became champion. But we've known how good these guys are for a long time.
Yo, it's so true, man. I've been seeing Peter Yan since he was 1-0 and coming to Tiger Muay Thai. He's now the UFC champ of the world, man. I won at bantamweight, you know, like that's just one of them. I remember when I first got to Tiger, we had Maribek and Zoo, but we just saw the wave coming. And I always used to tell all my friends in America, I'm like, yo, you guys don't even know. There's another generation of fighters coming. It's just the thing is that generation, they were all born in like the 90s, you know? So when MMA was first created, they were all like teenagers. So it was perfect. So they start seeing that. And MMA was already getting pretty big by the time they're teenagers. And it's just like, it was part of the culture there, you know? It's like, it's awesome, man. And they love wrestling and boxing already to begin with. So once they found the jiu-jitsu and then a fighting sport that had it all, that was their game, right?
It's amazing. Like, we've been there like since 2012, and we've seen like Peter Yan come in, Valentina, Alex Volkanovski, Dan Hooker. Before they were like training to get into the UFC, and then after all these years, they're like champions now. It's really awesome to see.
And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, man. You've had the pleasure of work, like you were the jiu-jitsu coach when all these fighters were coming through, right? So you've had the opportunity to work with a lot of these fighters, and you really get to share some of your knowledge with them. It's got to be a pretty cool experience, you know?
Yeah, no, it was an awesome experience. I mean, you know, Tiger Muay Thai, world famous gym, probably it might even be the biggest MMA gym in the world. I mean, it's pretty damn big.
Think so?
It's got to be up there. It's got to be up there. But yeah, it's like it's a good thing to have in the CV. It was a good time in my life to say that I was a head jiu-jitsu coach there.
Yo, hey, and Stu, and like, oh man, I remember so when I first saw about you, I saw that video, the spirit of jiu-jitsu. You made that in Thailand, right? That was in Phuket where you made that video?
I think that was like 2013. I had the idea because I already planned with Nick Gregoriades to do a video with him, But this was back in England, and then I moved out to Thailand, and then he reached back out to me and said, hey, you still want to do this video? I'm like, yeah, we should do it here in Thailand. And then he spoke to his sponsor at that time, and they organized, and then he came out to Thailand for a week, and we kind of just made it up as we went along. Like, Nick had an idea of what he was going to talk about, and then I just had tried to make the film like be as creative as possible with the film and the actual production. So JP helped me. As one day we went to like this hill. I'm not sure the name of the location, but we went all the way, took the mats all the way up this mountain, laid out the mats, and like the sun's down. We just filmed some jiu-jitsu out in nature, and then one of the other mornings we woke up at like 4 a.m. to go down to Rawai Beach and film Nick and his friend Kev on the beach just doing jiu-jitsu as the sun was rising. So the visuals in that film turned out really good.
Sick.
That was a great video, man.
Yeah.
I remember when I was training. I remember when I went to. I like that song that you guys use. I would always play that song when we're rolling. It always brings me back to that time. I get like nostalgic when I hear that song. I think about that video.
By Blackmill.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a great little ski. Oh man, I'm gonna put that on my Spotify now for class later. Now that I think about that. So how's the coronavirus treating you? So Stu, where are you now? You're in Canada now?
Yeah, so now I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I've been here for just over a year now. So I first got over here. Like we were at a smaller gym. It's Ryan Diaz's Diaz Combat Sports that I'm a part of now. And when I first got here, he had a smaller gym in Chinatown, but he already told me his plans to move to a bigger gym, and we moved there a couple of months ago. So now I've got this huge, it's 3 floors, world-class facility. It's really quite something. It's just unfortunate the timing of this pandemic because, Ryan's just put everything into this new gym, and then, the pandemic's, it's affecting everyone right now. So right now, like, it's tough times, isn't it? So we're just hoping. Right now we are locked down in Vancouver, unfortunately. Most things are open. You wouldn't even think it was a lockdown, but they've targeted group classes. So yoga, spin classes, martial arts classes are not allowed right now. But you can go to the supermarket, you can go to the restaurants, you can go in a pub in groups of 6 and drink alcohol. Yeah, I mean, don't even get me started on like some of these restrictions, but it's is what it is.
What's going on here, man? In Bangkok, same thing. There was like a supposed breakout in Bangkok in January, and we had to stay shut for 3 weeks. And same thing, gyms, yogas, schools, but everything else was open. It was like really weird, just anything social good for you. It seemed like was closed.
Yeah, it's really strange, some of these rules, but yeah.
I don't know what makes them think that's what's going to get people sick.
The best one I saw is, I think it was Gavin Newsom, is that if you go out to eat at restaurants, make sure to keep your mask on between bites. That was one of the best ones I saw.
Yeah, I love that. There's going to be there's people who drive around their car alone with the mask on. So don't give themselves at the end of the day, dog, in a couple years from now, there's going to be 2 types of people in this world. People who wear their masks in their car when they drove alone, and people who I don't know, man. I don't know. It's kind of starting to freak me out a little bit, yo. Everybody's kind of looking muzzled. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're taking away the freedom of speech, and then everybody wears these muzzles, and you can't. I don't even know what anybody looks like, man. I just moved to my new apartment. I've been living here for 2 months. I don't even know what my security guys look like. I bring them Red Bull and M150 drinks all the time when I go to 7, and like I say hello to them. And I say good morning every day, but if I saw them out on the street, I wouldn't even know what they look like because they're always wearing masks.
Yeah.
I don't even know what anybody in my building looks like because they got masks on all the time. I don't even know what my neighbor looks like without a mask. I just see this. It's crazy. Masks and hand sanitizers, yo.
Everywhere.
Yeah. I wonder if they have a Simpsons episode where there's a guy who's a distributor of sanitizer and masks, becomes a billionaire. They always predict the future, dog.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah.
Oh, we had some dead time. All right, yo. So Stu, man, boom. Stu, how long you been training now? About 10, 11 years, you reckon?
I've been training, it's 11 years now. 11 years.
11 years. Yo, okay, man. So through those 11 years, I know for me, like I've been training now about the same time, and man, I've gone through like my ups and downs, and there's times when I'm like, I'm feeling really good, and then the highs couldn't be higher, but then I know there's times when I've been down, and then the times couldn't be downer, you know? Have you ever had to yeah, exactly, man. And like, I know it's been like a crazy road for me. I know for you, for all of us, it's been like a crazy road, especially in the last years. What kind of challenges have you had to overcome traveling the world, like living in Thailand as a coach and everything like that, being a black belt? What's it been like in the last like few years or so? I know you've been going through some big changes and stuff like that. Like, if you want to like just touch up on that a little bit, man.
Yeah, the last 11 years into jiu-jitsu has been, it's been one hell of a roller coaster, actually. Like I said, a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of injuries. I dislocated my arm, but that turned out to be a good thing. A lot of these things always do. That bad shit happens at the time, but something good comes from it, later on. So that's my experience, so, like a lot of accidents, like a neck injury, a knee injury, like a couple of surgeries, but all the years of traveling, like it was amazing at the time, but I think it actually caught up in me. When I was in Thailand, the biggest challenge I had to overcome was an addiction I developed in Thailand. And Thailand, as you know, it's one of those places you can go there, Tiger Muay Thai, as an athlete, and really work hard. You've got the time. It's cheap to live, cheap food. You can really focus on your career. But there's a lot of distractions there. You can quite easily just, go the other way. It happens to a lot of people out there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You go there with good intentions, but it's very easy to get drawn into the nightlife and, the other pleasures of the island. And that was my experience. I ended up, in Thailand, you don't even need a prescription to buy some of these drugs. You just go in, just buy them like over the counter, like diazepam, tramadol, codeine, like Adderall, anything you want. So when I was in Thailand, I think I was very ignorant at the time. I think I was like 28 at the time. And first time I tried like these Valiums, diazepams, and then kind of like the way they make you feel. And because I was doing that much traveling, I was originally taking them just to sleep on the plane. But then I was like taking them like they were melatonin or something. I didn't actually know how fucking bad these are for you, So I remember just taking these things daily. And then that was it, You take them daily for longer than a month, you could develop a dependence pretty damn quick. So yeah. So I ended up taking, originally it was just diazepam for a few years. And that definitely has an effect in your cognitive function and your personality. It actually changes you as a person when you get addicted to these things because they play with your brain chemistry. And then eventually I started taking tramadol on top of that. So there was like a few years there where I was actually addicted to these substances, but it got worse. At first it definitely affected who I was, and affected my health, but it wasn't that bad at first. But as the years went on, your tolerance, to these drugs grows. So you have to take more and more and more. And then you guys saw, remember when I first came out to Tiger Muay Thai, I was the size I am now. I was like 88 kilogram purple belt, really looked after myself, lifting weights, just, quite athletic. And then when I got addicted to these painkillers, I disappeared from Thailand. I went traveling around America for a year, but when I came back, I went from 88 kilograms to 70 kilograms, and I didn't even notice. But I remember my first day back at Tiger Muay Thai, and all of you guys were like, yo, what happened to you? I'm like, what? They're like, you're like half the size.
Yeah.
And I was half the size because I wasn't really eating. I wasn't training. I wasn't eating properly because these things they affect your appetite. They affect everything, So... yeah, I remember coming back to JP. I remember this when I came back to Thailand. I realized how much weight I'd lost. I went in the training room and everybody's tapping me. I'm getting fucked up by everybody. So that was like a wake up call. I was like, fuck, man, what's going on with me? So to put the weight back on, I started eating a tub of Oreo ice cream every day. Remember that, JP?
Every
And I started
night.
putting the weight. It wasn't the healthiest way to do it, but
It was like clockwork every night. That was
yeah.
your day.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's dangerous. That's the thing about Thailand. It's like it's there's a lot of freedom here, and it works both ways, right? Like you have to you have to keep your discipline on point, because you can easily stray the other way. You know, like it's up. Like they have that saying here, like it's up to you. You know, like you can do whatever you want. Like if you want to do this, you can do it. You know.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you should or you shouldn't do
disciplined out there.
Doesn't mean it's good for you. You know. So you have to be able. Yeah, man. So.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon? It was just like the traveling and stuff like trying to catch up with your sleep, and it just slowly crept up on you, huh? Because man, these pills are a big problem, bro.
Yeah. At first it was just like for sleep, you know, like traveling so much with the jet lag. Those Valiums just make you fall asleep in the plane. If you're like, when you land in another country, if you got jet lag, just take a Valium. But I was traveling that much. There was a period where I was in a different country every friggin' week, you know, so, you know, it just became a habit taking these things. But then it always...
Go ahead, sorry. No, what you're saying?
It became a habit taking these diazepams, but it always leads on to something else. You know, like especially with addiction, you end up taking something else on top of that, and that's where a lot of these bad things can happen. Like if you look at celebrities, a lot of former WWE wrestlers, they always get addicted to like a Xanax or a diazepam, but they mix it with an opiate like Vicodin, Tramadol, a Percocet, morphine, whatever it is. And then they add on like a stimulant as well, like Adderall. It could be you know, even just alcohol. But when you combine them, like that's, you know, I believe that's how Heath Ledger died. He had quite a few different types of drugs in him. Yeah, so it's dangerous, dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous, man. And it's just like it's just a crazy reality that they have in the world. Like I just found out the other day that a childhood friend of mine from Jersey, that like he died from a Percocet pandemic that was in New Jersey. And JP, you said you knew about this, right? Like you heard about this?
Yeah, when I was
like how?
Yeah, when I was there, it was big then. I mean, I can only imagine how it is now.
Yeah. I mean, we're in 2017 and we've heard about the war on drugs since the 80s, dog. And you're telling me there's a Percocet epidemic, bro. You're talking, my friend told me, like, there was a Percocet epidemic, like, if it was a disease, like, if it was coronavirus epidemic. It's like, how is, like, this is crazy, you know, that it's just, man, and this is really important. I really want to talk to you about this because I know a lot of people that have really gone down from, like, I had, like, a lot of friends and close, I know a lot of people that have actually died from pills more than anything, more than heroin, more than anything, more than any other drug I have. Most friends have overdosed, and I've lost a lot of friends from pills mostly, you know. And it's a scary reality, man. Like it's one of those things that it's so easy to just boop. You can just take the pill and you can just keep on going about life, and it's kind of easy to hide, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really important that we speak up about it, and if anybody's ever fighting with that or whatever, because you're right, man. Like, I remember I crashed my motorbike once and I took some Tramadols and I got into like this really bad month where I was just like, because I was just so bad with road rash, I would just take those Tramadols to make me feel better. And I just like, it kills your brain, you know? I think like it numbs you out like really bad, you know? So,
yeah.
Like, well, I don't know what it is, but it's super dangerous. And once it's hard, and it's probably like the hardest thing to kick, you know? So how will you, I remember, Stu, I remember when we used to live next to each other, man. I remember like, I had a bad feeling, bro. And I would try to like, yeah, man. I remember when you were going through that, bro. It was really. I was so glad to see when you kicked it and you were able to get back and get out of it, man. Like I tell you, bro, I was super worried about you, man. I remember we were living next to each other in Santipop. Remember? Fuck.
Yeah. Well, I had to actually leave Thailand. Like it got to a point where when I was in Thailand, I was trying to taper off them, but you can't do it by yourself. It's very hard to explain unless you've suffered with addiction. It's like quite hard to explain like how difficult it is to taper off a drug that you're addicted to. So I knew I had to go back to England and like kind of move back in with my parents, and we went to a doctor and he wrote out a plan for me to follow to slowly taper off these substances. And I had to so I was with my parents, and they were making sure I was following the plan and not cheating, not doing what I'm not supposed to be doing. So Yeah, it took a year. I think it was a year to taper off them all. A bit longer, actually. I think it was like 15 months for my body to fully detox. And it was actually the diazepam that was harder to come off than the opiate. The withdrawals from diazepam and Xanax are horrible. So I actually went through 2 types of drug withdrawal at once. I was going through opiate withdrawal and then benzodiazepam withdrawal at the same time. And Jesus Christ, I cannot begin to explain how uncomfortable I was, like physically and mentally, for a year. I literally, that was torture, but I got through it. I managed to do it. And when you get out the other end, it just makes you mentally stronger, because it was, the worst time in my life, but I survived.
And was there anything specific that helped you kick it, or like what was like? Is there anything that you were able to do that like helped you like?
Yeah. So when you're going through drug withdrawal, you suffer with like acute withdrawals first, and they're like the sweating, the extreme anxiety, the insomnia, all that stuff, restless body syndrome. But when you're through the acute withdrawals, you go through something called post-acute withdrawal syndrome, and that can last months to years. And what that is you're through the physical ones, but you're still suffering with like chronic fatigue, like depression, anxiety, still suffering with those things, because it's your brain. I think it's called homeostasis. It takes a while for your brain to rebalance, to start producing the good, the proper levels of dopamine and serotonin again. So, because these drugs, they actually, like, you're putting these drugs like make your serotonin like rise and the dopamine. So when you stop taking them, like it takes a while for your brain to start working properly again. So I think I was like 4 months into like the post-acute withdrawal syndrome, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, you suffer with cravings. Even though I was clean, quite a few months clean, all I could think about was getting my hands on some kind of pill just to make myself feel better, to take away that feeling that I had. So I got offered the job in Singapore at Evolve MMA. And I knew if I had gone out to Singapore, I knew I would have relapsed. I just knew deep down inside I wasn't ready to go. So my appendix actually ripped, went gangrenous. So I went. That was actually, again, a blessing in disguise. And I just went through, a year of withdrawals, and then finally over the withdrawals, and then my appendix goes. So I'm like, fuck me, what is life throwing at me right now? It's like one thing after another. But that stopped me going out to Singapore too early. So I'm kind of glad that happened. And so when I went into hospital to take the appendix out, obviously they give you painkillers with the pain, because I've just had my stomach cut into. I remember all of a sudden feeling normal. As soon as the doctor gave me these painkillers, like I felt good again. So it's like my body was getting what it wanted. So that made me realize I'm still an addict, I'm still like craving these things, So I'm not ready to go back out into the world just yet. So that's where I started going online. As I was recovering from the surgery, I I was looking for like cures for addiction. And people say there's no cure for addiction. I'm just trying to look for something, that could like, I actually was seeing a therapist, but I didn't really get much out of that. But I kept coming across psychedelics like ayahuasca and how it can, really have a strong effect in the brain and interrupt the pathways of, addiction, like psilocybin mushrooms are being used to treat like, people were addicted to nicotine, like cigarettes. And I actually came across one called iboga, which is a root from South Africa. And that actually has a 95% success rate on heroin addicts. It resets the opiate receptors, and you skip the withdrawals. It's
really
amazing. Yeah, I've looked into it a lot, but apparently it's quite a brutal experience. It's like 24 to 36 hours. Your body goes through a lot, but I mean, what would you rather do? Go through months and months of opiate withdrawals, or go through a 36-hour hallucinogenic, experience that's probably very uncomfortable, but yeah, it doesn't only reset the opiate receptors, it actually helps you deal with the problem. Like, why is it you got addicted to them in the first place? What were you trying to, numb yourself from. So I actually was looking into doing Ibogaine, but it scared me a little bit, and I couldn't really find a legit place to do it, like a group that I actually trusted. So I came across ayahuasca, and I reached out to a place in Denmark, and next thing you know, I'm like flying out to Copenhagen in Denmark, and then we went off to a little island called Fimu, which only 100 people live on this island, and I'm doing ayahuasca with a group of shaman called the Spirit of Aya. And I can't explain I don't know how that stuff works, but the day I arrived, I was a shell of myself. I was still, suffering with depression, anxiety. I've had this chronic fatigue that I cannot begin to explain. I just didn't have energy to do anything. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to lie in bed and just feel sorry for myself. But I went there, did the ayahuasca, and man, 2 nights of drinking ayahuasca, and then 1 day of doing San Pedro, and I was back. I don't know what it did to me, but it fixed me. And I've never
2 nights of ayahuasca?
Yeah, so I did 2 ayahuasca ceremonies. Wow. And then
what is that like, yo? I've always wanted to do ayahuasca. You can't actually put it into words. It's like Dan Hardy said this. It's like we haven't developed the language to put the experience into words. It's so out there. It's so crazy. I had an amazing experience. There was 18 people in the room, and a lot of people were screaming, crying. A few of them sounded like they're in physical pain because there's a lot of purging. So you can go both ends. You could be sick, or you're going to go to the toilet. Some people cry. You can sweat a lot, but I had the most amazing experience. I was just lying back in my yoga mat, and I was in heaven. It was truly incredible. Really?
Yeah, it was amazing.
So how long did you go to Denmark for?
I was in Denmark. I remember telling my parents that I was going down to London for the weekend to do some filming, because I knew they wouldn't understand what I was about to do, being parents. So went up to Manchester Airport. I got the train up there and actually spent the night on the floor in the airport because it was like a 6 a.m. flight. So I couldn't really afford a hotel, so just stayed in the airport. And then got on the flight. We flew to Copenhagen. I met up with the shaman and a few other people at the airport. We got in the car. We drove 3 hours.
You met a shaman?
Yep. Yeah, and then we drove.
What does a shaman look like? What?
Just normal guy.
Did he look like a shaman?
No, not really.
He had long dreadlocks and a weird shirt, and he's hey.
He just like an everyday guy, He's from Peru, but yeah.
Shaman.
Oh, you got a real Peruvian.
Oh yeah.
Yo, so Stu, you had a shaman. How old was he, dog? I don't know if I'll trust some shaman, dog, unless he's got to be older than me and have white hair for sure. You know what I mean? Some scars on his face. Did he have some scar tissue, dog? I need to see some character in the shaman.
I think he was 50 or something like that. I'm not sure, actually. I'm still friends with him on Facebook.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was a group of them. There was actually 3 shaman, but 2 of them were Danish. And there was a bunch of shaman apprentice as well. So there was a lot of them. There was a lot of help there. But, yeah.
And
man, it's the craziest thing, because when you're on ayahuasca and you're in that room, 18 people in the room, all on ayahuasca, and even the shamans themselves, they take a little bit of ayahuasca to plug into the same wavelength, but not a full dose. And they're singing Icaros, they're dancing around the room, they're blowing tobacco smoke, they're blowing, I think it's sage, maybe it cleans the space, they're burning Palo Santo. Palo Santo. And when you're in the experience, you're deep in it, it's so, when you open your eyes and you look around the room, the room was filled with just different energies and geometric patterns. It was the last scene in the Matrix where it's green code going up. He realizes Neo. Not like that, but imagine that, but golden geometric patterns. That's when I opened my eyes, that's what was going on. I'm and even in my hands, I'm just made up of geometric patterns. Holy shit, this is real, It's so, it was amazing.
That's insane.
Because I've had a psychedelic experience before, a lot of them, but on mushrooms. And with mushrooms, I get a lot of visuals when I close my eyes. But when I open my eyes, everything's still normal. I'm still me. I'm still here. Like, that tree is still there. Things get distorted a little bit, but I've never had an experience that strong where the whole, like, everything around me just turns into geometric patterns. It's almost like I was plugged into a different dimension where I'm still here. My hand, everything's still there. The table's still there, but I'm seeing another layer of something else. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
And do you think there's definitely another dimension out there for sure, right? There's got to be another dimension, bro.
It's gotta be.
You think when you took the ayahuasca, you went to the other dimension, right?
I'm not sure where I went, but it was wherever I went, it was amazing.
And the shamans guided you through the whole experience, huh?
Yeah. So everyone's having a different experience there. Like, I remember the guy next to me, he was sat upright in his yoga mat, hissing like a snake, like just making the most weird sounds. And the guy to my right, he was hit on his yoga mat, like thinking he was a jaguar. He was like digging on the mat, making these like snarling noises. And the next day, you actually like go around the room and you ask, you can share your experience if you want. So when it came to him, like that's the experience he had. For some reason, he turned into a snake for like 4 hours. He thought he was a snake. He took on the how do you say? Yeah, just the energy of a snake. And this guy to my right, he thought he was a jaguar. And what's funny though is I think it's in the Amazon. Like, isn't the jaguars that live in the rainforest? They do eat this particular plant that makes them have a psychedelic experience. They end up there's some videos on YouTube about it.
I didn't know about that. I'll look into that, but I know that the jaguar has some type of significance with the psychedelics in the jungle.
Snakes and jaguars. It's like they're taking on the spirit of the animal, is what I meant to say.
So
I never
I've
had
only taken. Okay, yeah. Have you ever taken mushrooms? Okay, you said you've taken mushrooms. I'm sorry. Have you ever taken acid, like stamps or something like this?
Yes, yeah. I didn't really. I've had a good experience and a bad experience, and the bad experience wasn't that bad. I just the first time I did it was amazing. I had a great day out in Thailand, just driving around the island. The second time I did it was actually in Thailand, but for whatever reason, I had a terrible day. I didn't feel good the whole day. It made me feel, really low. So I don't know why that was. So I've never done it since. But I've done San Pedro, Cambo, ayahuasca, and I've done DMT quite a few times now as well. Just vaporized DMT.
Yeah, I remember.
So DMT that's like ayahuasca, right?
So the active ingredient in ayahuasca is DMT, but when you drink ayahuasca, it lasts long, like 4 to 6 hours, and the medicine itself. So you get healing properties from the medicine, like the medicine itself. You won't get that from vaporizing it. There's something about the horrible liquid that you drink. It does something to the body, Whereas the DMT, it only lasts like 7 to 15 minutes long, and you're just smoking it, and it just like blasts you in, and then you come back out. But it's very hard you're just not in there for very long, and it's hard to hold on to some of the lessons, I suppose, you get from it.
Yeah, I think that's the key with these psychedelics is like, it's the way you use it, right? Like, you can use it to have a good time and be all crazy, but I think if you really do go there with a motive and an objective, you can find some lessons for sure on that, in that other dimension. I mean, it may sound crazy, but that's been my theory. And I guess I'm learning that from listening to your story now, man. You went there, after you finished the ayahuasca trip, you felt like this is what helped you kind of like push you through to the next level of life and like keep on going? Yeah. And like keep on progressing?
It just brought me back like right away. Like I said, I turned up there like just a shell of who I was. I was in a bad place, and the experience itself that weekend, it made me think, because in that experience I was thinking about all the good things that happened in my life. I was in such a negative frame of mind where everything was just bad. Like, it made me appreciate my life again. It made me appreciate my family and the people around me. I started thinking. It made me think positive again. It just brought me back to who I actually was. So, it it made, I know that ayahuasca does actually help you to rebalance the brain chemistry. So I wasn't suffering with the pause, the post-acute withdrawal syndrome anymore. It seemed to take that away completely. And first thing I did when I got back to England was sign up to a grappling competition. That was the very first thing I did. And because that's something I wanted to do for a while, was compete, but I didn't compete because I was going through drug withdrawals. And before that, I was just, addicted to painkillers all the time. So I lost quite a few years of competition there. So when I finally went back to compete, I signed up to do a no time limit grappling match. And I went up against, my first match was against a guy called Ashley Amos, who weighed in at probably like 115 kilograms, maybe. I'm not sure. No, actually, no, maybe he's 100. He's a big boy anyway, real big guy. And we went at it for 45 minutes, 45-minute grappling match before I could submit him. But that was perfect for me because I just went through with withdrawals. I submitted him with a banana split. But I remember I was so mentally strong for that match because after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you're tired, you're fatigued, you're full of lactic acid. You just want to give up. But there was no way that day I was going to give up because all I could think was, this guy has not been through what I've just been through. I've just been through the worst experience of my life, and this discomfort in this grappling match doesn't even come close. So I'll be here all fucking day till this guy gives up. That was my mentality in that match.
Nice way to push through.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
That's a great mentality for the match. That's a great mentality for your fight. That's a great mentality for life, yo. You're just going to push through. You never give up. No matter what the world fucking throws, we don't give up, dog. We don't stop, baby. Wow, that's Superman. That's amazing, dog. And then you were able to, and then once you came back to England, you just felt like a little bit more clear-headed and you were able to get back onto your training routine and everything? Exactly
that. I was clear-headed. I was still rolling jiu-jitsu through the withdrawals, but wasn't enjoying it. So I when I actually returned back to training, man, I rolled jiu-jitsu better than I ever have, and just much more clear-headed of where I was going. Right away, I emailed Evolve MMA and said, look, I'm ready to come out now. Hopefully opportunity's still there. Went out to Singapore. So with that experience, it's like it was literally like a second chance. It's like my life, my life was awesome. I was traveling the world, going wherever I wanted, making jiu-jitsu videos, training for years. I was doing what I always wanted to do, but then it all came crashing down. I sunk all the way to the bottom, but then I managed to come back up again. And then going out to Singapore after the ayahuasca was like, second chance, like part 2. All right, let's do it again, but let's not fuck up this time, So I was in Singapore for a year, and then it was difficult working there. It was very difficult. It's different culture, a lot of classes. So I remember coming back to Tiger Muay Thai at weekends just to see you guys. And I remember planting the seed with Chris Vamos, like, hey, man, I'd love to come back here if anything comes up. And it was literally like, when I left, it was about 2 weeks later, Vamos messaged me saying, dude, do you want to come back? Like, be, assistant jiu-jitsu coach to me. It's going to be me, you, and Alex. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So when I went back, I resigned from Evolve, came back to Thailand. And then just like that, Chris Vamos was like, I'm out. You're head coach now. So, and then I was there for a good 2 years, I think. 2 years before I made the decision to come out to Vancouver, which was a very hard decision to make, but, just seemed
now
right.
You're in Vancouver. You got your own program. Yep. You got your name on the wall, right? You got Stuart Cooper Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. That's what I always wanted to do, have my own, Stuart Cooper Jiu-Jitsu. So that was really
you got your own gear line and everything, bro. You got your little squad of students. How's your students coming along? You're really building them up now?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to take – I was supposed to take my students to compete for the first time in December, but obviously COVID, just stopped all of that from happening. But I'm really excited to take them to compete because I've watched them progress over the year, and I've been teaching them, the systems, like Gordon Ryan, John Danaher systems. So they're learning a way that I never really learned. I think my game's actually got way better in the last 4 years, because I've been studying the way the Danaher Death Squad learn. I've been learning the systems I never learned that way. Most of my jiu-jitsu is just from just rolling, you know, like learning a technique here and there, sweep here and there, but just figuring out how to put it together just in rolling. But now I think, learning these systems, it helps you to progress a lot faster. And I've got some white belts here that they know the Danaher, you know, back system. They know how to trap the arms, you know, as a white belt. So it's going to be cool, like taking them to compete.
So you really feel like you've also leveled up as a coach now too. You're in the next level as a coach as well.
Yeah, I coached a little bit in Thailand, but that was just like in the evening. But I wasn't really committed back then. But when I went out to Singapore for a year, that was like my first time. Like that's all I was doing was just teaching, like 8 classes a day, every day. So it was over that year I started to figure out my way of teaching. You know, I'd never really done it before, and then
that's awesome, man. Yeah, and that's when you got to find you had a lot of classes to try different ways, different things, teaching. How do you like to always start your class? You like to start with like classic warm up technique, rolling, or do you usually switch it up in class? Like how you go about, how do you feel, or how do you usually go about? Anything specific that we can pick your brain from?
Tiger Muay Thai I always used to do. I like the warm-ups, you know. I like to do like my is it gymnastica? You know, like
I like that too. Really some people don't like it.
I think it's great because all the movements, you know, help your movement in jiu-jitsu. A lot of them are like stuff you do in jiu-jitsu, and it does make you stronger and more flexible. But the gym in Vancouver, it's not big enough to do that. So what I do now is to warm up. I don't do star jumps and push-ups and sit-ups. I think that's pointless. You can do that in your own time. I don't run in a circle, any of that. We get warm by doing drills, like finding like a drill with like single leg X, you know, getting an entry on one side, then the other side, then the other side, then arm drags to the back, you know, the stuff like that, you know, movements that you actually use in jiu-jitsu. So just trying to develop that muscle memory. And then we'll go into the technique.
I think I'm going to change that up. I still do like sometimes. What about like hip escapes and stuff? You always leave the hip escapes in there, hip escapes, because that's jiu-jitsu movement, right?
Yeah, you need to do with like in the advanced class to do drills, but the beginner class, people have never done it before. Yeah, you got to start with some break falls and some hip escapes because they're very important things to learn. You know.
Yeah.
When you first start.
That's awesome, man. Hey, Coach, how long have you been a black belt for now?
I got my black belt in 2015, so it's coming up to six years. 6 years, but as a black belt. It's only what's funny is jiu-jitsu's progressed that much. When I got my black belt in 2015, I believe that is like a purple belt of today's standards. The game's changed that much, you know. Damn. There were some things I was really good at, but when I think of my knowledge now to then, it's not even close. It's only in the last maybe 3 years I actually feel like, even 2 years, I feel like a legit black belt, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, does it take a while? Like when you first got your black belt, does it take a while for you to really grow into that belt? Because I always hear that that's just another level, you know? Like, because there's people who've been black belts as long as we've been training, and it's just like kind of mind-blowing, you know?
Yeah, that's what kind of throws you off, especially if you want to compete. So when you get your black belt, you're like, if I want to compete, I've got to go against these guys that have been competing at black belt longer than I've been training. So it took me, it was a few years until I actually started competing at black belt, you know, to develop the confidence. But as soon as I got that belt, it motivated me to really, because you've got to represent that belt, you know. So I started training even harder, studying even more, you know. So the first, I think after the ayahuasca, that was the first black belt tournament I had actually. First time competing at black belt was a no-gi, no time limit, and then after that I didn't compete for a while actually. I did one super fight in Singapore against a guy called Diego Colino, one of the local professors there, and then when I came up to Muay Thai, the first major tournament I had was
what a crazy match, yo.
Who's that with?
The one with Diego. This guy just
that was a boring
on you. I can't. What a weird game, right?
Yeah, no, that was a boring match. You don't want to see it.
Yo, well, that's great, man. Yo, Stu, thank you so much for taking the time, man. What an inspirational story, bro. So now, ever since you You were able to find a new job. You got a new career going in Canada. You're starting a new team. That's exciting, man. I can't wait to see you compete, brother. That's the goal this year now. Do you want to start to compete and build your students?
Yeah, so that was I just come back from knee surgery because I feel like I know I know my level, you know. I feel like I haven't got the chance to really show that yet, you know. So after my knee surgery, I was really hoping to, you know, compete a lot more this year, be really active. There's another reason coming out to Vancouver, as I'm right next to the US. So my intention was to compete in all those big shows, and then COVID hit. So yeah, hopefully, like I can, you know, these borders open up so I can actually, because I'm 35 now, I'm not getting any younger. I want to it's like I've spent all these years developing my game, and I want you know, I have competed at a high level, but I haven't got that big win yet or pulled off a really cool submission. Mm-hmm. I need to get comfortable competing. I have not competed that much over the years. So when I do compete, it's still very nerve wracking. So I need that, you know, that activity, that consistency to get used to the nerves so I can perform how I do in the gym. You know, it's one thing rolling in the gym, different thing rolling in front of like cameras that are recording you, you know, and going on flow grappling.
It's that live action, you know, being able to get being able to see the moves that you see in training, being able to see it, to slow it down so that you can see it in the match the same as you see it on the mat in training, you know. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. And the more you do it, the better we get at it, right? Like the more you compete, the more your muscles get used to that.
You gotta get comfortable.
Yeah.
You gotta get comfortable.
Hell yeah. Definitely, man. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. I know. I've trained with everybody in the world. You're definitely up there in the top of guys that I've ever trained with, man. So we'll be super excited to watch you compete. But your students would love to see that too, man. You can represent for your students now. You know, you have a little tribe to rep.
Yeah.
So have you guys been staying okay? How have you guys been staying together since the COVID? Have you guys been finding ways to train when the gym's closed and everything, or do you have to stay pretty isolated?
No, I've got like 2 guys that I train with. So like during the lockdown, like I don't, you know, I live by myself here. So I was able to keep my group really small. I've got some family here. I stayed away from them, but I just kept my training to just 2 other guys, you know, and they weren't seeing many people as well. So when this first hit, we didn't really know how dangerous this virus was. So yeah, just had like a cool little bubble, you know, to train with every day. So yeah, the lockdown, I've been training every day. I haven't stopped.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. That's good to know, brother. Yo, Stu, thank you so much for your time, man. AJP, what are you thinking, dog?
I mean, I just
miss you guys, bro. I could talk to you for another 3 hours, bro.
Exactly.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, JP. Let them know. Fuck, Stu, miss you, dog.
We can do it again.
Damn.
Let's do it again soon. Very soon.
Damn, man, I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface, dog. I'm trying to get philosophical.
There's a lot more.
We miss you, bro. Man, we miss you a lot, man. I hope everything's going good in Canada, Stu. Thanks so much for the time, dog. We're glad you're finally on the Honey Badger Hour. Yo, we've been doing it for 1 year now. It's our 1 year anniversary episode, actually.
Wow.
1 year, January.
You've had big guests as well. You've had
a couple months ago. Yeah, this is our 1 year anniversary month. So I'm glad. Oh, this is a good episode for our 1 year, JP, to release with Stu. You know, this is going to be a banger. And I think it's going to be a long one. We're going Joe Rogan style, dog. Usually after 45 minutes, I'm like panking out.
You need to get Valentina on here. Maybe she'll do it next time she's in Thailand. Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, man. I'm going to ask her. You know what it is? I'm just always shy to ask these people. I don't know why. It's like I'm shy to ask people for their time, I guess. You know?
All they can say
it's not like I don't know them. We're like friends. You know what I mean? Like, I talk to them for real life. So we actually know each other for real, so I feel like they should say yeah, right?
Yeah.
I got some people I want to ask, but I gotta stop being a little bitch and conquer my fears, dog. Now our podcasting is like training; it's a whole nother battle you gotta conquer of doing it. You know, right, JP? Like we easy to fall off and not do it for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, man. Yo, Stu, we miss you, brother. Big hug, my man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And yo,
I would have been back there in Thailand if it, right now, like around this time, if it wasn't for COVID. So, you know, yeah, my plans was actually, I should have been there a couple times if it wasn't for all this. So as soon as these borders open up, I need to come back over to Thailand because JP's got half my wardrobe there. So,
Hey,
what do you guys reckon? Hey, you guys reckon we take these vaccines and see each other, or we just talk on Zoom forever and we don't take these vaccines?
Oh, man, if it's between traveling, I'll take the vaccine if I can travel.
Yeah. I've shot up worse shit than vaccines, so fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I put way worse shit in my body.
Yeah.
A vaccine ain't gonna kill me, dog. I'm the honey badger, baby. There ain't no product on this earth besides myself. What's up?
Yeah.
My grandparents have had it, and they're fine.
Nice.
Yeah?
Yeah, my cousins too, so they're all right.
Shit, Stu, your family's in England where it's like super rampant crazy.
It's worrying.
Oh, is it scary over there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all kind of in crazy places. My family's in Miami. You know, the Cubans, we don't give a fuck. They're out here burning mass.
Yeah.
Anyways, boys, should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
What episode is this, JP?
I have no idea.
All right, Stu. Hey, we'll get another one. But yo, Stu, you got to get on your phone. Listen, bro, there's two people you got to keep in touch with. Me and JP, dog. You got to open your.
What is
I need an app what app do you use, dog? I think Instagram's your app. I try to.
What is do a group chat? Maybe put us in a group or something.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
That's a good idea, yo. All right, we'll do it on Signal too, so these guys don't get our.
Yeah, let's do it Signal.
Yeah.
Yo, Stu.
I kind of want to get rid of Instagram and Facebook. These fucking.
Yeah, me too. But then how are we gonna release this podcast? You feel me?
Well, let's hope
we get a lot of views from here.
Back, you know? Absolutely
That's
insane.
the problem, dog. This is the problem. I want to delete it.
Yeah. Get a second
you know what
phone.
it is?
This is what you do. You get another phone. You keep it on airplane mode, and you only have Instagram and Facebook on the second phone. Don't put any other data on there. Don't search any other websites. Don't log into anything. And your other phone, you don't have Facebook and Instagram and any of that bullshit. WhatsApp. That's the way around it.
I had two things that I was doing. The first one, you know what's fucked up? You can't even take Facebook off your phone. That's how sick it is. That's how sick Facebook is.
Yeah.
You can't even take it off. Like I tried. So I uninstall Instagram, and then I only install it at night. So then when I'm about to make a story or something, I was like, you don't need to do that, bro. Put your phone away. And then I put my phone away. Because then I don't have time to download the app and make the story, you know?
Nice.
So it keeps me off of it. And then I'll just open it at night, and then I'll post a picture or whatever and shit like that, you know? And lately I've just been doing reposts of whatever people, because for the gym, I'm in the same boat as you now, Stu. I got here, and now we got into lockdown my first month.
Yeah.
So, all right, boys, go to sleep, Stu. My bad, dog. Thank you so much for kicking up for us, man. We love you, bro.
Good catching up with you.
You too, brother.